Again, we are looking at runes. This rune is called Wunyo. It signifies happiness and joy. However, if the rune is reversed, it means stultification, sorrow, strife, alienation, delirium, intoxication, possession by higher forces, impractical enthusiasm, raging frenzy, berserker. When we make the rune Merkstave, does that look like something you've seen? Well, it matches with something I've seen. Perhaps a search engine, maybe? They're using Wunyo Merkstave, which is accurate because the internet creates alienation and possession by negative forces. Quite similar to the Bluetooth symbol, they reverse the rune to invoke negative energy, which you feed by using it. Katy Perry has an album called Prism. The shawl makes a triangle with rainbow light. Here's a picture from the album. It says Prism, but it's not really. This is a rune combination. We can separate it to see it better. All of those letters are actually runes. There's a hidden rune in the center. It sort of looks like an upside down fish. That rune is called Othalor. To call on ancestral powers, including calling up their spirits. These abilities are considered latent and brought out by reference to ancestral or genetic potential. However, the symbol of Othalor is reversed. When Othalor appears reversed in a rune cast, it implies that the querent will have to face alone whatever troubles lie ahead. There's no recourse to outside help. It indicates a certain finality that the querent has no option but to square up to the situation and deal honourably with whatever life decides to throw at them. The querent would be advised to take a very realistic approach and understand there is no avoiding karma. This might be relevant to a few interviews that she did. In one exchange, Wig mentions a handful of acts that remind her of Perry's music, describing them as really happy, fun music, to which Perry replies, "Yeah, well, my music is about to get real effing dark." In June 2012, over a year before Perry would release Prism, she told L'Uomo Vogue that it would be a much darker album than the previous one. She told her record label, "I just have to let you guys know my Saturn has returned, so it'll be ugly."
She's also talking about her return of Saturn being a return from the trip to the abyss. That's an occult teaching with the Kabbalah tree of life and traversing from one point to another.
When the runes are combined in this way, it's called a sigil. Practical sigil magic. Sigil magic, particularly the system developed by the English painter and sorcerer Austin Osman Spare, is one of the most efficient and economical disciplines of magic. For the most part, it can be performed without complicated rituals, needs hardly any paraphernalia, is independent of philosophical and dogmatic premises, and due to its simplicity can be learned easily and quickly. Spare states that sigils are monograms of thought and that they should be created in accordance with the individuality of our thinking. As I said before, sigil magic is probably one of those magical disciplines that may be the fastest and easiest to learn. Usually you'll need nothing more than a sheet of paper and a pen. There is no faster way, even in magic. Austin Osman Spare was a typical child of this era, and after Aleister Crowley, he was definitely one of the most interesting occultists and practicing magicians of the English-speaking world. Nowadays, he's basically known only in this cultural context. Internationally, he has received only some attention in literary circles at best, ironically, in a footnote. This footnote is found in Mario Praz's pioneering but unfortunately rather superficial work, All That, where he terms him, together with Aleister Crowley, a satanic occultist, and that is all. Nevertheless, this important work has at least led many an occult researcher familiar with literature to Spare. People have compared his life with that of H.P. Lovecraft, and certainly he too was an explorer of the dark levels of the soul. Before we begin with Spare's theory of sigils, it is perhaps useful to write a few words about the part sigils play in a magical working. Occidental magic is known to rest on two main pillars, namely on will and on imagination. Connected with these are analogous thinking and symbolic images. For example, Agrippa uses a special sigil for each of the planetary intelligences. These are not, as has been assumed for quite some time, arbitrarily constructed, nor were they received by revelation, but rather they are based on Kabbalistic considerations. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn also employed sigils as images of the souls of magical entities which enabled the magician to establish contact with them. Nevertheless, the technique of their construction was not explained. The same may be said for the OTO under Crowley's leadership and for the Fraternitas Saturnian Brotherhood under Gregorius. In general, people think of correct and incorrect sigils. The grimoires of the late Middle Ages were often little else but magical recipe books. Basically applies the same procedure of select ingredients, pour in and stir, and these practitioners believed in the following principle. To know the true name and the true sigil of a demon means to have power over it. This leads us to magical practice proper. In Spare's system there are no correct or incorrect sigils, neither is there a list of ready-made symbols. It is of no import whether a sigil is the correct one or not, but it is crucial that it has been created by the magician and is therefore meaningful to him or her. Because she or he has constructed it for personal use, the sigil easily becomes a catalyst of his or her magical desire, and sometimes it will even waken this desire in the first place. When the sigil is ready, it is activated by implanting it into the psyche. This is the most difficult part in this process, and Spare offers only very few hints on practical procedures. However, it is crucial that the sigil is internalized in a trance of sorts. This may take place in a state of euphoria, for example by means of drugs, in ecstasy, for example sex magically, or in a state of physical fatigue. After spasmodical internalization, the symbol must be destroyed and deleted from the conscious mind. As mentioned before, from now on it will be the unconscious which has to do the work. If you see a sigil every day, perhaps on a wall engraved on the outer side of a ring, this should only take place unconsciously, just as one might not consciously notice an object which is in use all the time. Of course, you should keep your operation secret, for discussing it with skeptics or even good friends may dissolve the sigil's power. That's why I reveal this to you. These people know that we are creators and they're hijacking it. You see symbols and sigils every day, unknowingly giving your energy and power to it. You don't take note of it, but your subconscious does. There are many musical bands that use sigils in their artworks. It's been in your face and you never noticed it. Here's another rune, and this one is called Dogos, which means daylight, and it also relates to Extinction Rebellion, alleged eco-warriors. The movement came out of nowhere and I don't trust it. Red Rebel Brigade was devised by Doug Francisco and Justine Squire from Bristol's Invisible Circus. These ethereal otherworldly beings came from a slow-motion mime show called Blanco that Invisible Circus toured for many years as a street show in the noughties. The choice of red as the color was part aesthetic, part symbolic. Of course it was. You should know by now what red means. With the mime stroke clown makeup. Doing the Masonic sign of distress, but it's also connected to Ishtar, aka Tanit. The symbol in the palm references the Hamsa. I told you, it's not the hand of Fatima, it's the hand of Tanit. For example, I can see what they're doing. Venus rules the color green. Half their faces painted. This reminds me of Lady Summersisle in The Wicker Man. It looks like some creepy pagan cult. The red ribbons are like cut wrists or the red Kabbalah bracelets. Look, he's dressed exactly like the Green Man, who I revealed is really Osiris, god of the underworld. Here's that deer skull. I did a video on pansexual. It's the goat god Pan, also known as Cernunnos, Herne the Hunter, the Green Man, etc. There's a point-and-click computer game called Rusty Lake Paradise. The father is wearing the deer mask. Definitely got Wicker Man vibes off of this game. At the end, his family puts him in a giant wicker owl and they burn it and sacrifice him. So they're called Red Rebel Brigade and they are doing the Masonic sign of a fellow craft. Looking like they're going to a funeral. And now sitting in black Gak, also called dark matter. In alchemy, the raven is considered as the taboo bird. It was believed that the raven had the power to decay everything that came in its path. It is associated with the darker spiritual realm and is said to be the harbinger of death. We've got one of their posters, non-violent, with purple and yellow, which connects to the boy on the Denver airport mural. He's holding an extinct pigeon. and I told you pigeons connect to opening portals. They have to sacrifice a soul to open those portals. Obviously a mock blood ritual. How is this protesting? They poured it down the stairs. Does that look familiar? Exactly like the Aztecs, who sacrificed people to their gods. The body was discarded and their blood flowed down the temple steps. Dolgors, meaning breakthrough, awakening, awareness, daylight, clarity as opposed to nighttime uncertainty, a time to plan or embark upon an enterprise, the power of change directed by your will, transformation, hope, happiness, the ideal. However, when it's Merc's stave, it means a completion, ending, limit, coming full circle, blindness, and hopelessness. It's the Extinction Rebellion symbol, but the rune is in opposition, and this is what we are seeing. Zoomancy, late 19th century, earliest use found in Helena Blavatsky. Theriomancy, animals are often observed in divination, frequently as symbols representing a particular characteristic. However, one branch of divination, theriomancy, is specifically devoted to studying animal behavior, observing animals more in depth than the face value, meanings they often represent as symbols. Theriomancy is also sometimes referred to as zoomancy. Zoomancy is divination by the appearance and or behavior of any type of animal, such as if a black cat crosses your path, it's bad luck. Allegedly, if you see this caterpillar, it's going to be a bitter winter. Or it's a worm. He doesn't know he's being used as a horoscope. Magpies, considered in folklore to be predictors of the future, salute a single magpie to rid you of the unlucky 1 for sorrow. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret, never to be told. Then we have this creature here. Every year, they pull him out of his little house and determine whether or not spring is going to be late. How can you say that? If I was this animal and I came out and saw giants around me, I'd run back into my house as well. This is fortune telling with animals. Another type of zoomancy was prediction from the appearance of imaginary or psychic animals, such as unicorns, sea monsters, or salamanders. Zoomancy is a type of augury. Augury, the prediction of the future from omens or portents. You may remember this film from the 1980s. There's a character in it named Augra. She goes on about planets and the conjunctions, and she's some sort of soothsayer. She puts that up to her eye because she only has one. That symbol is called quintessence or the philosopher's stone, connecting to the alchemical process of merging male with female. Augur, a person believed able to foretell events by means of omens, a prophet or a soothsayer, specifically an official diviner of ancient Rome. Well, officials in America are inaugurated, aren't they? An augur is an official diviner of ancient Rome. Divination, the art or practice that seeks to foresee the future or discover hidden knowledge, example by using supernatural powers. Divine, to discover, perceive, or foresee intuitively or by supernatural means. Divine office, the prescribed forms of prayer and ritual for daily worship used by Roman Catholic priests. I already explained about the Catholic priests. It goes back to Sumeria and Babylon and the god Ea, the Dogons, the fish people, the fish priests of Ea. That's why the Pope wears the same hat on his head. You see all these symbols everywhere. You want to withdraw your consent to occult sorcery so that you can dissolve these spells that they put on us.